Right, crests. Where do you start with crests? I don't know. Crest is pot luck. There's various different theories, and I think the most viable one is from a guy called Didier Merville, and I will post a link to his website on the Mid-Essex group. You can have a look. But, you know, they're not recessive, they're not sex-linked, they're not dominant, they're a law unto themselves. You can breed a full circular to a full circular and get no crests at all. You can breed, all those birds will be what you call crest bred. You can breed crest bred to crest bred and get full circulars out, half circles, tufts, whatever, you know. I think some birds will just have a strong crest gene.
Is it a gene or a fault?
It's a gene, yeah. But there's not a best pairing for crests, you know. Some people will say, you know, I've always had fantastic success if I have a full circular to a crest bred, and I always get crests come out, and the next person will go, that doesn't work for me. It literally is pot luck. As long as both birds have got the gene, that's all you can do. It's one of the reasons I don't keep them, because there can be a lot of wastage with crests. You know, the same thing applies to the Hagaromos. They are another version of a crest, you know. Their crests on the back, they quite often got a crest on the head as well. But yeah, there's not really much that I can say about the crests. Like I said, there's a few different theories, and I'll post that link up on our group, and you guys can have a look and see what you think. But those that keep crests will know this already. You know, it is pot luck. It's a pain in the backside. Helpful, I know, eh? Yeah, so that's pretty much, that's the crests. Not helpful, I know. That's the joy of breeding, I suppose.
Do the helicopters, the hog remote, whatever they're called, do they come under the crest banner?
It is a crest gene, so they work in the same way.
Yeah.
But if they've never shown, if you've got a couple of full circles, for example, and there's no Hagaroma in their background, it's unlikely that a crest is going to pop out on their back. But you know, the crest can throw itself anywhere. I've seen them on the chest before. We were just talking outside quickly. In the Canaries, crest to crest is a no-no because it actually affects the bone. You can get a hole in the skull where the crest, rather than just being on the feather follicle, will actually be in the head and create a hole. So that's something that the canary breeders would never do. But it's not something you have to worry about so much in the budgies. But yeah, it's, you know, not very helpful. But. So is there any questions on anything? Not crests.
Dark eye clear.
Dark eye clears. Ooh, right, so dark eye clear is a combination mutation. So a dark eye clear carries two recessive genes and one dominant gene. I think I've got that the right way around. So it's to produce one, you would have a clear flight pied, which is a dominant mutation, that's split for recessive pied, paired to a recessive pied, and that's where you get the dark eye clears from. So they're carrying 2 recessive genes, 1 dominant gene. So once you've got that dark eye clear, so it's a completely clear bird, either white or yellow, it will have a dark eye with no iris ring, like the recessive pieds. And if you pair that back to a normal, you will get clear flights. Because that bird has got the 1 dominant gene, so that will always get passed and always be visual. And it will also be split recessive pied.
Is that where the odd-eyed comes from?
No, that's the odd-eyed is recessive to dominant pied, isn't it? I think. I'm not sure on that. But yeah, so that's the dark eye clear. It's a combination, like the rainbow. The rainbow's not a mutation either. That's a combination.
What about fallows, German and English?
So they're not related in any way. It's a recessive variety. They've got a reduced body colour, brown wing markings. They're not cinnamon. Red eyes. The German has an iris ring, the English doesn't. Because they've got brown wing markings, people think it's okay to put cinnamon into them. If you put cinnamon in, the cinnamon gene on any bird will lighten the body colour a bit, and you end up with birds that look like lace wings. So because the body colour's already reduced on the fallow, it washes that colour out that little bit more, and you tend to end up with yellow birds with brown wing markings, or white birds with brown wing, and they can easily get confused for lace wings. So it's not something that I would advise. They don't cross over, so pairing an English to a German is the same as pairing a slate to a violet. It's not.
That just get 2 splits.
Yeah.
Sorry, splits.
Yeah. They don't cross over. And there's another one that's floating about on the continent, the dun fallow, which has got the full body colour. It looks like a normal. It's just got red eyes. It's quite a striking bird, but yeah, they're just recessive varieties.
Another mutation, the misty. What's that one?
I don't know anything about the misties.
No.
Don't know anything about misties or frosted pieds. I don't know if anyone's seen the mottled mutation. That's quite interesting. So they come out looking normal, and then through their first molt, they will lose a patch of their markings, and they look like a dominant pied. And then after its next molt, they lose a bit more, and they end up clear, completely white or completely yellow.
Lastly from me, half-sider. Who's had those and can they be bred?
Half-siders, quarter-siders, eight-siders.
Yeah.
It's 2 birds, effectively, isn't it?
Yeah, so yeah,
How does that
half-siders.
work?
It's not.
You never breed them.
You can't breed them. It's not.
It's a genetical freak.
It's fusion of,
Yeah.
Twins.
yeah, it's twins fused together, and an half-siders split very early on in that cell division, or fused very early in cell division. Yeah, only a few cell divisions have happened to get a true half-sider.
So they don't come from double yellow corrects then?
No.
It's 2 birds in one, effectively.
Not necessarily 2 birds in one, but it's the 2 makeups of, you've got a green bird and you've got a blue bird, and it's just a split.
No, but you could have 2 greens. You could have a Euclid's big one. Yeah, you get human to a. Yeah, but you can get an half-sider that's a green and a green, but you won't see it. Yeah, you only see it if you've had,
Different.
this. You start off as a single cell, don't you, and you multiply. So when you've got this one and this one going together, they fuse. But if this one's blue and this one's green, you'll see the difference. But if this one's green and this one's green, you think you've got a green bird, but it's still effectively two birds fused together.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you very much.
It has to be visual to see it.
Yeah, so you can't purposely breed them.
I heard
No.
that they were sterile as well, if you get the mix of male and female, but they're just sterile birds.
I don't know. I mean, they're so few and far between because no one can
Yeah.
breed them purposely. It
It's
sort
a
of just
genetic
happens,
anomaly. It's just
and you know. So
it's a freak.
yeah, whether they're sterile or not, I
Happens
don't know.
in humans.
But yeah. Anything else?
Just trying to think.
Crossover.
Eh?
Crossover.
Well, that's what they're saying about the.
Goes back towards the TCB and the cinema.
Well, it's also the lacewing, isn't it? That's
Yeah.
what they're saying.
Well, yeah. Again, you know, the lacewing. Is it a crossover or not? Is it a fusion?
Some people say it is, and some people say it's not.
It's
Yeah.
opinion. You're never gonna.
You never know.
If you breed TCB with an Eno, you would get potential Eno babies and TCBs, or you'd get all TCBs.
You'd get. So if it's a clear body cock, there'd all be.
Yeah, but the Eno is just the masking agent, isn't it? So a Lutino could be a dark green, light green, grey green. You know, the Eno modifies the colour by just washing it out. The same with an albino. It could be either blue, it could be grey.
Yeah, except for Texas clear body, you will never get underneath that albino mask a Texas clear body
Why?
because it's a mutation of the same gene, and the clear body is dominant to the ino. So you know you can get ino split, you can get clear body split ino, you can't get eye body split clear body.
So if you had a TCB cock to an Ino hen, you would get what?
All
TCBs unless the cock is split Eno.
Right, and then you
Yeah,
get
so you
Ino
get
cock.
TCB hens and normal cock split Eno.
No, I think you get.
You get a combination. You have to work it out.
I'm gonna have to look. I've got it on my. Because I did put a chart together. If anyone wants it, I'll send it to you.
I thought it was the case that you would get predominantly TCBs, but you would still potentially get 1 in 5 or 1 in 6 Enos out of it. But it is the preferred pairing, isn't it, to breed your
Yeah,
TCBs?
because I think it gives you a clear body with the TCB to the Ino.
It does help with the colour.
But you also get double factor TCBs as well, don't you?
You don't technically get a double factor in a sex-linked variety. But so a clear body to an ino hen, yeah, I was right. So they'll all be clear bodies, all clear bodies. But the cocks would be split ino, yeah. But if that original cock was also split ino, then you get clear body cocks and hens, ino cocks and hens. Yeah.
Just going back to the dark factor grey, which obviously introduced greys with everything that goes anywhere near. How do you get to that dark factor grey with the charcoal cheek patches and the colour of your top, for example, a really dark coloration that looks like an androcyte one, which is
There'll be dark factor behind it.
So how would if you put single factor grey, you would not get anything else other than single factor grey.
Depends what's behind those single factor greys.
Right.
So are your single factor greys sky blue greys, cobalt greys, or mauve greys?
Right. So you're only going to know that if you do a test against the sky.
Yeah, but even then, the greys that come out, you still don't know what's behind them.
Other than what they can throw at you. Because if you compare it to a sky, if they then produce a violet, for example, or a cobalt, you know you can then determine what was behind the grey.
So you know behind one of them would be at least. Yeah, but if one of them's cobalt and one of them's sky,
The young two.
yeah,
Right.
you're going to produce cobalts and skies.
Right.
So the greys that you produce from that pairing, how do you know if those are cobalt greys or sky greys? You don't.
Or even if they're double factor greys.
Well,
You'll know if they're double factors because you just get greys.
you'd only get greys. So if you put if you had a mauve grey to a sky grey, they'd produce all cobalt greys. So if you get a nest of 4 greys and 1 cobalt, you don't know whether you've got a mauve and a sky grey, a cobalt and a sky grey, 2 cobalt greys.
Well, that pretty dark one that I had, the colour of your top, all it ever threw out was single factor greys.
Yeah, because
I couldn't tell what they were.
so you don't know what's behind it.
But it was probably a double factor grey.
No, it was a double factor grey, but you don't know what dark factor, if any, was behind it.
No.
Might
So
never
how
pass
guys
the
ever
dark
found
on.
out?
You might never pass the dark on because you should pass it on 50-50, but that's based on
And this is the problem. It's extremely difficult to know what's behind those greys.
Because I'd love to have produced another one like it. It's a stunning colour. It's as close as I'd seen to an anthracite.
And then you put it to another grey.
I've just got greys.
Yeah, but you don't.
Yeah, well, light greys.
Like greys,
Yeah, but the grey you choose to put it to, you don't know whether it's a sky, a cobalt, or a mauve.
yeah. Right.
You might be better just putting it to a sky blue.
You know, it's
You'll get greys.
it's still not
All
helpful.
greys.
It was a double factor grey.
Double factor greys and dual greys. Regardless of what it goes in. Or grey green. Come out and compare it to a green.
Going back to when you were saying about expectations, like, you know, you turned around and said like 50-50, like, you know, what you got to realise, like beginners, expectations work on based on 100 birds, don't they?
Yeah, I mean that's a probability. So you know you get
It's
50,
just that some
50,
people,
50. I mean,
yeah, when you turn around and say, oh yeah, you get a nest 50-50, like 50% on
yeah,
50%.
you've got to apply the law of averages. You know, because
The average,
you would say you would get 50-50 cocks and hens, but we all know that some of us produce all bleeding cocks and some of us produce all. I mean, I tend to predominantly produce hens. I don't know why.
No.
So you just have to bear in mind the law of averages.
Do you think weather has anything to do with it?
I think there must be something to do with humidity or.
It can be because it's an X and a Y. You can't change a Y to an X or an X to a Y.
No, but some people say if you get more cocks in the early part of the season, you do it.
It might be the sperm survive better. So,
I get it in the
So,
summer, I get
yeah.
colds.
yeah.
Cold
You can
weather.
understand that,
Or they produce
like,
more
you know,
plasma.
cold, like, eat, like, but I've even known people that turn around and say, I use a red night light, I use a blue night light, and I bring more hens than cocks, and vice. Huh?
Yeah.
Why that affects what
Yeah.
what's attached, doesn't it?
It's male or female, yeah.
Yeah.
Can an eno mask something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it could be a spangle.
Yeah.
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 And so could you actually get spangles come out?
Yeah.
You can.
Yeah. I had a dominant pied albino.
Dominant, right, so it looked like an albino, but
And it produced dominant pies.
produced dominant pies.
Yeah.
But
So,
that's a recessive, a sex-linked variety, so...
It masks
No,
out
no,
the
I've got
red
to
and
eno.
blue.
yeah. So it's a bird that's showing both, or
It's not showing.
it's carrying carrying both, but the albino's washed.
So what else is there that masks that you don't know what's underneath it? Any sex-linked variety?
Anything except clear body. The albino can be covering anything except the Texas clear body.
Right, because that is dominant.